Every year I try and update everybody here on what's going on in Lacey. And Scott Spence last year did one, and I asked him to come and tell us what's going on that we probably didn't hear last time. So we're going to hear from Scott Spence, Lacey's city manager. And let me tell you a little bit about him, although a lot of you know him. And he has 20 years plus local government service here. He's been the city manager since 2011. The assistant manager prior to that from 2003, clear up to 2011. Public affairs director from 1999 to 2003. His current responsibilities is, for all, of course, city employees, financial management of all city funds and effective delivery of all city services to Lacey residents. Represents the city in a variety of intergovernmental agencies and organizations. He's a member of the International City County Management Association, board member of the Washington City County Management Association, city liaison to South Sound Military and Communities Partnership, and a member of Gateway Rotary. He has a master's degree in business administration from Willamette University in Oregon. And he's married to Angela, 20 plus years, and they have 2 children. And some of you will like this. He follows the Oregon Ducks football team. and he loves baseball. So let's welcome Scott Spence, Lacey City Manager.
So I apologize, I am from the South. I think you've heard me say that before. I have a slight accent from Oregon. So thank you again for letting me be here before Lacey Rotary. Larry asked me if I could come and I did a presentation for the Lacey South Sound Chamber, and he said, can you give a kind of a modified version of that, but with a caveat, don't put all those graphs and bar charts and all that kind of stuff in there. We just want the stuff that's going on in the community. So I tried to do that, although I think bar charts and graphs are kind of a crowd favorite. But so I tried to modify the presentation with that in mind. And before I begin, though, I want to do a couple of public service announcements. And really about construction. So anyone in the room live north of I-5 in Lacey? Gotcha, okay. So you may have noticed this project. This is the Marvin Road improvements. It started last summer. It is still under construction. Has that been noted by some people in the room? So this is a well-needed project in the community. It's really the second roundabout as you come off I-5 traveling Marvin Road, connects to Britton Parkway. It's going to expand that just beyond Providence up to 30th Avenue to 2 lanes going each direction. We received a $1.6 million grant from the Transportation Improvement Board. That's roughly about a $2.4 million project. So a lot of questions come up, why have you not finished the project? And I think Larry mentioned that I'm responsible for the effective delivery of services within the city. We do have a good reason. We need 5 days of rain, or non-rain days, not just 5 days. We need 5 consecutive days of dry weather. Now this is probably going to be the most tragic part of the presentation you're going to hear. You guys braced for it? This is a rain chart. You may and may not know this, but in October we broke a record. Average rainfall for October is about, well, under 5 inches. We received 12.4 inches. November, we also, again, congratulations Washington for breaking a record. December, a little bit of reprieve. January. February, record pace again. March, as you can see, over 6 more inches than normal. And April, congratulations, we're not done with the month yet. We've already broken a record. So that is part of the reason for the delay. I apologize, but that is the tragic news with that. As soon as we do have that dry weather, we will pave that as soon as possible. Someone said that could be July 5th. So try to be a little more positive for the rest of the presentation. So just a quick update on the DDI. Last time I spoke to you about that, we were successful in getting funding from the state legislature. DDI stands for Diverging Diamond Interchange. We'll be the first city in the state of Washington to have this type of interchange. We do have a link on our website if you want to see how it actually functions. It's a little bit different. There's some in the South, there's some in the Midwest, but this will be the first time in Washington. Right now, DOT is requiring or acquiring right-of-way. By 2018, it should be under construction, and by 2020, it will be done. So again, I apologize. This is part of my public service announcements to people who live north of I-5. This is another construction project. The other construction project that you may be aware of is Hogan Bay. Now, if anyone who has driven on Hogan Bay, if they went to the transfer station, knows that Willamette and Hogan Bay is kind of a tough intersection. There's sometimes people do not always obey the speed limit. And there's a well-needed intersection control device on that intersection. So a roundabout is planned for that, which is good news. But that is a 2-year construction season project that we just started. So you may have noticed that we have some right-of-way improvements going on. Utilities will occur this year and into this summer construction season. And then by 2018, that project will be done. So good news in that, in terms of trying to leverage taxpayer dollars, we received a $4.2 million TIB grant from that one. That's almost a $10 million road improvement. So I think after those 3 projects, we should give a little bit of reprieve to Northeast Lacey residents, weather permitting. So here's some highlights I'd like to share with you for 2016, and also talk a little bit what's going on in the future. Now, I promised you no bar charts. I apologize, but this is relevant to what I want to talk about. So you may notice in terms, there have been a lot of multifamily construction within the city of Lacey, and the number I want to point out to you is a 2.6 vacancy rate. That is near at capacity for an apartment complex. If you think of the normal turnover, people leaving, going out of state, especially our military population, you actually do need a certain amount of vacancy to make that actually operate. So that's why we're seeing so much multifamily construction occurring in the city of Lacey. Believe it or not, this is the first time in 10 years that we've actually seen multifamily construction occur within the city of Lacey. One project you may be aware of, this is on Bridge Parkway, a 204-unit project that is nearing completion. I think they're actually leasing rooms or renting rooms at this point. That's, again, that started as one of our very first multifamily construction projects. Another one that you may have noticed if you're driving to Costco or going past River Ridge High School, this is the Martin Way Apartments. There's 623 total units in that, and of that, there's 135 that are reserved specifically for seniors. So again, another multifamily project. The one that's received probably most of the attention is the site at Albertsons. A lot of people say, what is going on with Albertsons? I think I've said this to you before, but as you know, Safeway and Albertsons did a merger, and one of those acquisitions were the old Albertsons site. And there's a covenant on that property that says it cannot be another grocery store. And I've said this many times before, that building should be a grocery store. It's made for a grocery store. It would be perfect for a grocery store. A lot of people say, why isn't Trader Joe's in there? What about wholesale foods? Those are all great suggestions. Unfortunately, that cannot be what it could be. So as a result, it's been very difficult to find a replacement for that building, but there is a proposal, and that is for a senior apartment complex. This would be a project for low-income seniors. This is a fairly significant development if it actually gets off the ground. It's a 5-story building, 308 units. It would actually take down the old Albertson site and take up that majority of that site. My understanding is they're having trouble getting financing. As you know, the interest rates have gone up here a couple times in the last quarter, and so they're still trying to work on that. But that is a future vision of that site. They do have site plan review approval, which is your first stage for your land entitlements, and so we're still waiting to see what happens now. We would like that not to be a vacant lot anymore. So a commercial note that may be of interest of you is the Medline warehouse. That's a 700,000 square foot facility. That's a huge warehouse. I think really the big news in that's going to produce about 250 jobs to the area. So that's the good news in that. Now, Medline warehouse is not something where you go there and get a Band-Aid. They're actually on a scale that they would supply hospitals or medical clinics, and that's their customer base. So you would go there to go get some aspirin. But anyway, that's a significant development. That's on the Twitch property next to Harbor Wholesale, if you know where that is, or just north of the Target warehouse. And again, that is nearing completion, but that's a state-of-the-art warehouse. I do want to mention before I go on too, the Port Olympia. I don't see Commissioner McGregor here today. Am I right on that? The Port of Olympia actually made a significant investment in the city of Lacey. As you know, Port Olympia is a regional port authority that serves the entire Thurston County region. And they recently made an investment in Lacey with about 59,000 square feet of property they acquired in the Meridian campus. And we're pretty excited about the fact that we now have a physical presence of the Port of Olympia in the city of Lacey, as well as obviously Tumwater and Olympia. So we think there's potential partnerships with the city of Lacey and the Port of Olympia, and see how we can maybe maximize that space, provide incubation space potentially for industrial users. So we're pretty excited about that. So one thing I wanted to share with you too, given that Lacey Rotary obviously has a lot of business people, that we have tried to rebrand our community development department project. We want to be known for just permits and barriers. We actually want to provide a friendly face to the business community. And going to business school, the three most important things in business is location, location, location. So we've revised that to location, location, Lacey. So hopefully everyone adopts that. We think that's a good call sign to come invest in our community. But so we've now rebranded the Community Development Department to actually the Department of Community and Economic Development, to emphasize the fact that we're more than just a permitting agency. We are trying to encourage growth within the community, but also we're trying to be a positive resource to our existing business community. So that is a change. We are committed to that vision. We've actually created a new website for the business community. If you go to that website, we've actually reserved the URL or the website name, locationlacy.com. So that's how you'll find us on there. And again, this is a resource for our existing business community, but anyone also looking to potentially invest in the city of Lacey. So we have resources like Grow Your Own Business, and really that's helped because we have partnerships like EDC. So if you're looking to start your own business, you can go to that website, find out resources. If you want to tune up your business, you can also find resources on how to do that. Again, provided by our partner EDC. But again, there's a resource and information we think is important to share with our business community if they had not known where to find it. The other part is people are just looking for a site. You may have an existing business that you've outgrown and you're looking for a new site within Lacey, or maybe you're out of state and you're thinking about moving to the city of Lacey because you've heard location, location, Lacey is the most important thing in business. So here's a resource that we now have. If you're looking for available properties, we're now part of the commercial listing process that you can find on our website. You can find available properties based on however you filter that. If you're looking for a $500,000 property or $2 million property, if you're looking for a range for a certain size of acreage, you can have that. We'll have important information such as zoning, what the parking requirements would be, what type of land use designation you're in. So again, a valuable resource in trying to find where you'd like to locate in your business. So we think this is a valuable resource. We launched this the beginning of the year, and we hope it actually gets a lot of traction. So the other thing I want to talk to you about, which was a big success in 2016, was the Lacey Veteran Services community. I've been here before. I think we've talked about some of the evolution that this council has been very aware of the fact that we are a military community and what kind of resources do we need to do as a local government to make sure that they're getting those resources. So the expansion of the Lacey Veteran Services is really a long-term vision of it's just not behavioral health services. There's more services our veteran community need. Just some quick facts in terms of veterans in our area. We have 32,000 veterans within Thurston County alone, which is a significant number. And when you think of being so close to Joint Base McChord and the number of, in a sense, newly minted veterans that are being produced as they exit the military, that number is just going to get bigger. So in terms of what the hub provides, we've somewhat talked about pillar services. So believe it or not, half of all veterans access the actual benefits that they earned while they were in military service. So maybe a veteran who's just leaving Fort Lewis or McChord and they want to know, I'm looking for employment opportunity. You can go to the hub and find that. If you're looking for medical benefits and don't know how to navigate the trail that VA has somehow set out for our veteran community, you can actually go there. It's really a retail model. It's no similar when you walk in the store, you want to find the things that you want. You know, unfortunately, in the past, as a veteran, what you'd have to do is navigate. Some people would go to a nonprofit for education, say they come here, say go here, and they go, well, no, you need to go there. And then when they go there, they go, well, no, you need to go over there. And then when they finally reach over there, they go, you got to go back to here. And it's unfortunate that at some point the veterans say this is ridiculous, and they actually give up. So what we're trying to do with the hub is provide kind of a one-stop shopping so they can actually access the benefits they earn. So again, a very good project that Lacey City Council has supported. Some stats on that, we believe at this point in the stage, this is actually, as of February, 937 veterans have been served by that facility. We have not advertised this, we have not promoted it, this is all word of mouth and it's already gained that much traction. We rely heavily on volunteers. We have over 1,700 hours that have been given to this facility in support of our veteran community. Very proud of that. And that was the last slide on that. So the other thing we talked about is just the 50th anniversary. As you know, last year we celebrated our 50th year, 50 years old, half century, however you want to look at that. We had a pretty good time. We had a major event in terms of our 4th of July, our 3rd of July event, which is at Rainier Community Vista Park. Rainier Vista Community Park, thank you. Thank you for the help on that one. So anyway, we moved this this great event. I think Lacey is probably one of the smartest communities. We figured out that if you celebrate 3rd of July the night before, that you could sleep in on the 4th of July. So that was kudos to the founders that figured that out. So that was a great event. We're going to do it again this year. Again, you may have noticed that we've had to move that event a couple times, but we think we've landed on the right location and venue. I mentioned we had a good party December 5th. That's our actual date of when we turned 50. We're still 50 this year, and we're going to continue our celebration. We also had a lighted parade, if you guys were a part of that. That was a fun time with council and the community. And then we had the Mayor's Gala, and I think there's some questions even prior to me getting here about our tickets sold. So originally when we planned this event, this is brand new to the city. We thought it would be a great idea to have a Mayor's Gala and really just celebrate the city's 50th anniversary. So we had intended to do about 220 tickets. As of today, we have 320 tickets sold, and I believe tickets are either not available or scarce. So if there's someone still trying to get a ticket, I can't promise we still have space left, but if you need to, probably call Mary Coppin at Lacey City Hall. But I guess that's the great success. Any proceeds that's in above, and there's also going to be an ask at the end of that, is going to go to help the Lacey Veteran Services Hub in terms of a donation. So again, that's something new for the city of Lacey to do an event like this. And ironically, I don't think there's any community type events that actually support veterans when you think of fundraisers. So we're pretty proud of that. And then to close out our birthday, we'll have one grand finale concert at Hummer Park in the Hub area. So some of you may have been following that we are trying to enshrine our history or capture our history. This is an old photo. Believe it or not, those folks are waiting for President Taft in the early 1900s. This was the old train station. Everyone's dressed in their Sunday best. And so we actually, believe it or not, own the property where that original building was constructed. So we have bought the old, City Council authorized the purchase of the old Carpet Exchange building. It's about 16,000 square feet. And we think that's going to be the new home of the museum, but also a civic use. That will be more than just a museum, but also civic uses for meetings, classes, and the like. So we're in the process of updating that master plan, and we hope to improve that property and make it a good anchor for the one-way couplet property. So projects and possibilities. So first of all, I think you may recall I was here at the Lacey Rotary talking about that there's going to be a vote on Valentine's in 2017 about potential to invest in Lacey's road infrastructure. So I'm happy to say that that actually bond measure passed. As we've talked about, we have about $400 million in road infrastructure. The Transportation Benefit District is really dedicated to trying to have a revenue source to help maintain our roads. Not for new roads, it's to do overlays, missing sidewalks, those type of repairs. What's interesting about that was during a special election, and that passed at a 62% voter approval rate, which is actually pretty outstanding for a special election. That was really done without, my understanding, without any sort of outside campaign. I would note that even Ken Balsley actually wrote a letter of support, which is, those two things are historic, the 62% and also the letter of support. So I want to thank you for that. But that is pretty amazing. I know that City Council myself do not take the support of voters lightly, but that was a pretty significant vote for the public. That's good. Actually, I want to point this out too. Just if you took all the precincts within the city of Lacey and kind of took a fire map, what you're seeing is those red areas are the ones that did not receive the 50%. There's really only 3 precincts that did not actually vote in favor of that. So again, there was pretty wide acclaim for the Transportation Benefit District. So sort of next steps, in July, we'll start collecting an additional 0.2% on sales tax. Right now we're 8.7, we'll go to 8.9%. Raise about 1.6 to 1.8, at least in the initial first years. And then we'll start looking at maintenance and renovation projects in 2018. But again, pretty significant. We have not asked the voting public for an increase in taxes since 2002. So it's been a 15-year period since we've actually gone out and asked for an investment into public infrastructure. So one thing I want to talk about too is the Woodland District. Anyone's been there lately, it's actually gone through quite a transformation. It wasn't too long ago when there was actually empty office buildings during the Great Recession. There was almost 250,000 square feet of empty office space. And it was somewhat of a drag on the city, which was a concern for the Lacey City Council. What's interesting about that, the City Council commissioned a plan, which we call the Woodland District Strategic Plan. Believe it or not, plans do work in government. I know there's maybe some incredulous faces out there that can't be. We don't need another plan. But believe it or not, it actually did what it was supposed to do. So some things that have occurred that were actually identified in the plan, we thought potentially it'd be great if we could get South Puget Sound Community College to locate in that area. They now have a thriving campus in that area, which is pretty amazing. We've had Hummer Park, which has always been a key element of the Hummer or the hub area, so that's always been a fixture of that. We now have a new dining experience in Ricardo's, which is somewhat unique to the city of Lacey, since we're more known for maybe franchise restaurants when it comes to dining opportunities. And then the Lacey South Sound Chamber recently made an investment by locating there. So you're really starting to see that area turn around, which is pretty exciting. Now I will point out one thing, the council also has sort of recognized, and this was in the plan too that was identified about 2 years ago, is at some point to make a thriving area, we need to have some kind of market rate housing. And what I'm about to show you, it's not saying that this is a done deal, but the council has put some effort into trying to, how can we make this area thrive? We need, sort of those key elements. You need retail, you need jobs, and it'd be great if you have a civic use, which we have in the community college, but also it'd be nice to have a place where they could live. And so you have more of a, not just an 8 to 5 environment. So MGR, which is the primary owner in that area, is actually did these plans and is looking at potentially doing apartment complexes in that area. So kind of orient you, this is College Street, and right before 7th Avenue, there's 2 buildings that are being potentially promoted. Those are 5-story buildings. This would be a significant urban type development, really not seen in the city of Lacey. One of those buildings, I'll call this the north, where you see the gentleman in the blue shirt, would be about 142 unit. Again, there's another way to look at the site. The north side, that's 142 units. The southern side is 125 units. And then the one in the back is 78 units. So again, kind of interesting to see if that's a vision. Again, I guess the caveat is that's not a done deal, but the fact that someone's actually talking about it, thinking about making that type of investment, that would truly be a game changer for the Woodland District area. So there's another sort of aerial view of what that could potentially look like, but pretty interesting. So one thing I want to talk about, since we're talking about maybe the future, I want to talk about recreation a little bit. And interesting enough is that recreation really is a big part of the city of Lacey. It really goes back, since we're talking about our 50th, even goes back to the turn of the century. So you may or may not have known it, that we were known for a horse track. 1891, harness racing came to the area, and we were the premier site when you had the Woodland Driving Park open up, which was pretty significant. Kind of the reason why there was a train depot and also a Lacey Hotel at one point. And actually, this was a place where people from Tacoma and Seattle would come down and recreate. So in the 1920s and 30s, at one point we had 19 resorts that populated Hicks Lake, Passon Lake, Long Lake. So this was the place to go. So someone mentioned Hawaii, it was actually Lacey. Where you kicked up your feet, did a little fishing, kind of just shrugged off all the worries of the world. So pretty amazing. Up until about the 60s, that was when the last resort closed. Another picture of that. And now you kind of fast forward and we have the Regional Athletic Complex, which has really become one of the premier athletic complexes within the state of Washington, which we're pretty proud of. And so you kind of see a link to our past when you think of any one of you have kids or grandkids in soccer or baseball or fast pitch. LaRac is one of those areas that you typically come to and actually play competitive sports. So again, we're pretty proud of that. There's been some talk about how do we enhance that recreational assets that we have. We've been approached a couple times about a wooden bat league, which would be kind of exciting. What would that look like? Wooden bat league is that sort of college student that is still playing with aluminum bats at, say, St. Martin's University level, not wants to break into maybe the minor leagues, and they've set up leagues now that you can actually be in these 40-game competitive leagues. And there's about 8 around in the Northwest that have shown interest in the area. Again, that would be kind of an interesting thing. We have a great jewel within the city of Lacey called Great Cuyo Park. Some of you may know where that's located. We maybe just know the individual that's named after. But this is a 407-acre park, which is an amazing asset that we have in the community. We have the largest park system within Thurston County, over 1,200 acres. And I'll make a plug to our chair for the Parks Commission. We're going through our Parks and Outdoor Comp update right now. And this is an opportunity for you to kind of say, what do we need for our park system? What do we look like for the future? You know, do you put a zip line course in there? Do we have more athletic fields? What does that look like? So at some point, we can kind of catapult what we did from the past and actually become that recreational destination that we did in the future. So again, I encourage you to dream big and encourage you to reach out to our Parks Department and provide whatever input that you think the vision for that park system should be. Or you can talk to Kim Balsley, the chair of the Parks Board Commission. That's another way to do it. So with that, it seems like I always run long in my presentation. I want to make sure it was short enough there'd be any questions, so I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Yes?
Have you seen any other new dealerships in the Albertsons just change retail, empty retail into multi-family house?
You know, that's probably the first. Yeah, we have not seen like a large bank of retail when they go into multifamily. We have not. But that's a unique site given the restrictions on that land because of the land use or the covenants or the restrictions. And so we're kind of at one point there was a discussion about making an antique mall, but again, trying to break up that building and make it a usable building is pretty tough given its configuration. Yes?
What are the plans, if any, for the ballpark that's across the road basically from the rack, the old Bucknell field?
That's a great question. So we have a colony of gophers on that 26 acres.
Talking about
Bucknell Park.
Oh, Bucknell Park, I'm sorry. Well, we do have gophers on the other side, but Bucknell Park, we'll talk about gophers later. So the school district, you probably know that they actually removed some of the structures now that they've taken ownership of that. They've always owned it, but now they've taken control of operations of. They're concerned about liability issues. So that's why the old stand was taken down. That's why some of the fields were taken up. They're still in discussions. They're going through a strategic process or visioning process right now where they're going to engage the community about facilities. And so again, there's another opportunity to say, what should that future site be? We're obviously interested in what does that become because we think it can either be a complement to the regional athletic complex. So we'll be engaged in that process also. But that's right now it's on pause would be the best way to describe that. And we do have gophers on the other side. Yes?
What's the timeline on College Street? Any timeline?
So it's broken into phases. This is an old number, but when originally the College Street quarter plan was, I think, completed 2009 and then recently updated, it's a $26 million project. So really you're taking everything from Lacey Boulevard all the way to 37th South. You're going to make that a 2-lane in each direction with turn pockets where appropriate and about 3 roundabouts. So the first phase of that is going to be the 22nd roundabout, and that is scheduled to be done. However, we've been having issues with acquiring right-of-way, so that's been part of the delay. Originally, we thought we'd be starting that last year, then we thought it would be this year. We're now thinking it could be next year. So it just depends. So we're still working on that. Once we get all the right-of-way that we need, and then we'll begin construction on that. Yes?
When you're talking about raising the sales tax 0.2%, how does that compare to the communities around us for sales tax?
That's a great question. So that new sales tax rate would match the City of Tumwater, which is already at 8.9. City of Olympia has a public safety 110 sales tax, so they're at 8.8%. So we would match City of Tumwater, but Olympia, for the first time ever, would be just a little bit lower than Lacey. Yes?
One of your slides showed the average rental cost, I think, of $928 or something
Right.
like that. That seems quite low to me. Is that an old number, or does that factor in some subsidized housing or what?
Yeah, it's a number that we get from TRPC. It's probably the best information we have, but you're right. I've seen numbers as closer to even 1,100 or 1,200. You're absolutely right. But I think it points out the fact that just the demand for multifamily, and that's why you're starting to see some of those properties basically built for multifamily. A long time, at least when financing was less expensive, developers chose to do just single-family residential. I think it was there was a ready market for it. It was easy to build, and so sometimes they could have built multifamily. I think it was just easier for them to build that. But yeah, I would agree with that. It's probably closer to 12 million. There's one in the back and all.
Now, notice when you had the Medline thing up there.
Uh-huh.
You said that was not a local supply, is that an area supply?
It is. It is. It's a distribution point for really large users. So I'm going to assume potentially a St. Pete's could probably take advantage of that. They have a relationship with it, but it would be that type of user. Any questions?
This may be a peripheral question, but Mushroom Corner is pretty horrific. Is there any, with the rack so close,
Right.
is there any work between the Mushroom Farm and the city on using scrubbers there to get rid of some of that smell?
So we have worked with them in the past, and you are correct. We do notice sometimes that we smell the product, or at least the pre-product. And there is an agreement that they have to maintain their facility to an extent that doesn't affect the rack, and that's an ongoing conversation. But there are times, especially during the summer, and then when we have the fall, when we have that cold air that kind of hangs, that you know that Ostrom's is a community in the community. So yes, I think you maybe saw in the paper that they have closed down operation and they were going to consolidate some of it at Ostrom. So I think short term they're probably here to stay for the short term. There's been some discussion they've looked at other sites within the state of Washington that they may potentially move, but I think that's longer term. Yes.
One of the slides you showed under the location, Lacey.
Yes.
Was where people can look at potential commercial either buildings or sites.
Correct.
Is that specifically for people that are looking to buy or sell sites?
So it's more of a resource for people looking for available properties. So it's the commercial listing site. It's not something that we operate. It's something that's available now. We were just trying to put a link to where that resource is. So if you had property you were trying to sell, you'd go to a commercial broker and it'd end up being put on there.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Any activity on the expansion of the rack?
So that's a good question, and I think that's part of the question that the new comp plan for the parks and outdoor recreation is going to answer. I think there's a lot of interest on what's that next phase going to be. It goes back to what happens with that 26 acres where the gopher is, and is that possible to expand on that property? So there's definitely demand for it. I think Bucknell plays into that vision also. How does that look like? But there's definitely demand for more soccer fields and more baseball/fastball fields. Yeah. One last question. Okay.
I don't know if this is within Lacey because the boundaries are kind of weird on Mullen Road, but between Carpenter and Timberline High School, they've got all the trees marked and everything, and I heard that they're going to put sidewalks in, and also that there's a roundabout maybe going at intersection of Mullen and Carpenter.
So you are correct. So the Tri-Lake grocery store has been there for a long time. There's a planned roundabout for there. I believe that project's at least a year or 2 years out. That's a county project, but they're going to try to put a roundabout there because you may know if you're trying to take a right turn, trying to go toward Timberline, if you're on Carpenter, it's pretty hard to get out there. And so they're going to try to hopefully, again, another roundabout. I think we may hold the record for most roundabouts in the community. We're very proud of our roundabouts. So yeah, that's a future project.
Yeah, I'd love one there.
Okay, there you go. Great. This is not one of those government books, is it? How does government operate?
It is, actually. So as per our tradition, we're going to have Scott sign a book, but this one is Richard Scarry's Grooming Zooming Stories, which I just thought actually fit. So. Thank you for being here.